and welcome once again to the Open Door Show from Property CEO. My name is Ritchie, as most of you will know. Of course, if you're brand new to us, you won't know that, but you do now because I've just told you. It's great to have you here, and over the next 30 minutes, we're going to be, as always, taking a deep dive into the world of small-scale property development and anything associated with property. Talking to movers and shakers, people out there in the know, and have I got a bit of a treat for you today? I definitely have, okay? Above all, though, and this is important, we always talk about this, having a bit of fun doing it. Now, there's lots of problems out there. There's lots of issues you have to come up across and deal with when you're looking at buying sites or taking on properties to actually redevelop and refurbish out. And who's heard of Japanese knotweed? Yeah? Most of you, I'm absolutely certain. But of course, there's loads of hype about Japanese knotweed. It's going to take over the world. It's going to destroy everything. It's going to destroy your buildings. So the big question is, should you touch a site with Japanese knotweed? Can you get a mortgage? Can you get funding? Can you get rid of the stuff? Would you like to know some of those answers? I'm almost certain you've heard of it. Well, on today's show, I'm really pleased. I've got a good friend of mine, a student of ours here at propertyCEO, who's also training to be a developer, but he is an expert and runs his own company in Japanese knotweed solutions. He's a guy called Dean Wild, and his company is Solutions for Japanese Knotweed. Dean, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you?
Hi, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. Very jazzy shirt you've got on there in the typical Dean Wild style.
It's a summer's day.
It is a summer's day. Of course, though, we have to understand that some people will be listening to this on a podcast, so they won't even know what shirt you've got on. But let me just describe it. It's wonderful. There we go. There's a description of Dean's shirt. And those that will know Dean and know he's a bit of a colourful character in certainly in the room when we have him in our training session. So, Dean, look, it's a pleasure to have you on here today. Whereabouts are you based in the country, Dean?
Thank you. So I'm based in Stockport in Manchester. We do cover the Northwest and Yorkshire as well. So yeah, that's where I'm based.
Great stuff. Dean, your company is Solutions for Japanese Knotweed. It's all about solving knotweed problems. What I want to do on today's show is really understand it, okay, understand what it's about, understand what people's concerns are, understand, can we get rid of the damn stuff? Is it a problem? First of all, Dean, tell me a bit about your company, how you set the thing up, and then perhaps lead into what is Japanese knotweed.
So my parents had a grounds maintenance business, and we dealt with it through that. And then I went on my CBT, which is a bike training course, and I met somebody on there that was he was into pest control and Japanese knotweed as well, and he sort of told me everything that I should do and how I should do it. And yeah, it kind of came from there. So it was a strange story, really. And
when did you set the business up?
2016.
So 2016. So you've been going for some time now. So pretty well established, isn't it? But so you just said you went on a motorcycle training course, and it's just by chance you bumped into someone, and you liked the idea of it. You had a grounds maintenance company within the family. It just seemed to make sense, I guess, to start this type of business.
Yeah, it's just the way it worked out. It was a strange circumstance, but yeah.
All right, what is Japanese knotweed? I mean, we all hear the title, but really, what is it? Is it coming in lots of different varieties? What is this stuff?
So Japanese knotweed is an invasive species. It's covered by Schedule 9 of the Wildlife and Countryside Act, and it was brought in by the Victorians as a plant of interest. They loved it. They actually gifted some to Queen Victoria as well. So that's how it kind of originated in this country, because obviously it's from Asia.
And what is describe it? What does it look like for those that don't know? Because I'm sure a lot of people go and they see weeds or stuff growing on a building site or on a potential property they're looking to do into a buy-to-let or an HMO, and they don't know whether it's Japanese knotweed or not. What does this stuff look like?
So if you think about bamboo, it's got the bamboo like canes, but the leaves are more of a heart shape. So it's a green plant, and then if you look at the actual stems of it, it's a bit of a cross between bamboo and rhubarb. So it's kind of speckledy stems. Quite a nice looking plant, really.
And so that on the basis, a good looking plant. That's why they bought it. And you say Queen Victoria had some?
Yeah, she was gifted some.
So is it around Buckingham Palace, or have they got rid of the damn stuff up there?
I think they've removed it from there now.
Much to the disgust of Queen Vic. So This stuff, as you say, it was brought in from Asia. It's a bit of a problem, but is there different species of it? I mean, you said it's a bit bamboo like, but like a lot of these things, when we talk about deleterious materials, talk about asbestos, there's so many different types. Does Japanese knotweed come in lots of flavors?
Yeah, so there are different types of it, different variations. Down south, we don't have it up north where I am, but down south you have giant knotweed. So that's basically Japanese knotweed, but huge. It can grow sort of 3 or 4 meters high.
Is that because we're special in the south?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, you do get different types of it. However, some of the hybrids, which there were hybrids that were doing like a vine kind of knotweed as well, they don't really reproduce very much. It doesn't seem to take off in this country. So we're quite lucky.
Yeah. So the stuff in the south of the country, is that, I guess that's south of Watford is what you're talking about. Is that generally worse than, you say it grows big, but does that mean it's worse than what it is in the north?
It grows the same size, but I don't think it's any worse. It just kind of, same stuff still kills it. So it's the same treatment methods and stuff. It's just that it grows bigger.
Yeah. And so in terms of the stuff, one of these things, like some of these materials, I don't know if Japanese knotweed is the same. You can tell me, the stuff you see above the ground, is it the same depth under the ground, or is it less, or is it more?
Yeah, so that's where the problem is with Japanese knotweed. Its rhizome system, which is the root system underneath the ground, is the part that spreads so fast. That's how it actually spreads. It doesn't spread by seed in the UK.
So what you see above the ground is not necessarily a reflection of what's below the ground, which is where the problem is. And it's the roots that spread and penetrate the large areas of sites almost without being seen.
Yeah, it spreads via a little underground system. So it's basically, you wouldn't know where the roots are without seeing it. If you see one stem above the ground, the roots could be anywhere within a 3-meter radius, they say now.
Wow. Okay. And why is it a problem then? I mean, so we've got this stuff, it's been imported, it's throughout the country. Why is it such a problem?
It's such a problem because it's highly invasive. It's very hard to remove, and it causes a nuisance wherever it is. Really, it can grow through weaknesses in buildings. It won't particularly grow through your solid concrete, or a really robust house. But if there's any holes in any concrete, where the aggregates are, it can grow through them and sort of expand the weaknesses as well.
So what it won't do, if there's a solid concrete foundation or a solid brick wall, it won't smash or penetrate that wall. But as we all know, probably there's likely to be some fissures or gaps or things in building structures in all sorts of forms. You said even an aggregate mix in concrete could have some fissures or weaknesses in it. It gets in, and it's a bit like a freeze-thaw action, I guess, in a way. It expands and then will push that structural element apart and split it. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it'll kind of exploit any weaknesses in the material. So if it's a brick and there's holes in the mortar, it can pop through there. It can grow through cavities, but that's mainly if you build on top of the Japanese knotweed. So yeah, it is a problem. It's a bit of a pest.
And so why is that a problem? So we've got this thing. Is this because structurally this is affecting the building stability?
Well, it would. If the problem got bad enough, then it would affect that, but it's not going to bring the building down. It's a problem because it's so invasive and it's very hard to get rid of, like I say, and it'll come up through all your kind of your paving flags, anything like that, or decking. If you've got some nice decking done, we've seen it coming up in conservatories, which
literally coming through the floor in a conservatory.
Yeah, it comes through any holes in conservatories. It's similar to bamboo, to be honest with you. There's quite a lot of traction on the bamboo front at the minute.
So even a bamboo plant, if that was underneath a building floor, a conservatory, for example, which aren't always built that well, and there's often gaps between the slab and the edge of the brickwork, a bamboo potentially could find, as we know, weeds punch their way through our driveways in our country. This thing is even more prevalent and will do that. It'll come up through the floor.
Yeah, there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of traction on the bamboo front at the minute. There's a lot of similarities between bamboo and Japanese knotweed. So if you think about with a weed, as you say, when it pops through a driveway, It's pretty flimsy, sort of, where you just pull it out, don't you, or throw it, whatever you do. With this, think about it being like a strong stem sticking up and potentially lifting any flags up and things like that.
Can you literally just pull it out? Or I think you were talking about the root system is so extensive and deep. You probably presume you can't just pull this thing out.
Yeah, you can't pull it out now. If you do pull it out, it's either likely to aggravate the plant or it will push it into a dormancy, and then a couple of years later it'll pop back. So unless you're taking the roots out or treating the roots, there's absolutely no point.
When you say aggravates, it gets all bent out of shape. If you pull its head off, it gets all bent out of shape and it'll fire up even more. Is that what actually happens?
Yeah, it gets very angry. Yeah, it doesn't like being pulled out.
Wow. Or, as you say, it could sit dormant and you might not know it's there. So a prospective purchaser, you might go onto a site. Now, that's an interesting one. So if you went onto a development site, and there's no evidence of knotweed because someone's gone and, let's say the previous vendor's been a bit unscrupulous and taken all the heads off, how would you ever know it was there? Is there an investigation that you can do to test on a site?
Yeah, so I do a lot of expert witness work as well for Japanese knotweed cases, and a lot of people will buy a site in the winter when it's died back, and then in the summer they get these little plants of Japanese knotweed popping through, which they didn't know about because they weren't there in the winter when the owner might have pulled them up or whatever. So you can usually tell by the age, by the size of the crowns, which is the at the base of the stem. There's like a crown there, and you can usually tell with that if the plant's just come in that year or not. So.
Let's say then you say it dies off in the winter. A previous vendor has got it removed. You didn't know it was there, and it comes back. Is there a chance to go back and seek recompense off that previous vendor?
Yeah, so there is. So in the TA6 form that they fill in when they're selling the property or the land, it asks you whether there's Japanese knotweed, whether you know about the Japanese knotweed, if there is. And there's also a don't know section. So it all depends on what they've ticked on that. If they said no and they knew there was, then there might be some kind of, there will be some comeback on it. But yeah, you'd have to ask a solicitor about that.
Yeah. So what if they put don't know? I guess they genuinely might not know, and they just mowed or trimmed the plants down. They might not know at all.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one. So from my experience, if you put don't know, it's almost as bad as putting no. So it's kind of, yeah.
So let's say so that's a good tip for anyone listening to this. If you're buying a site or a property or development and someone's ticked don't know, obviously if they tick yes, but if they don't know and there's no visual evidence, can you go and assess for that as a Japanese knotweed expert if you can't see anything, even in the winter?
If you can't see anything, it's very hard to see, obviously, because there's nothing there. But it's one of those things. So we would advise another inspection in the the March time where it starts to come up again. But if somebody does tick don't know on the box, that's usually a sort of red flag where you should get a survey done to find out.
Can you do so? Let's say as developers, we're going to buy, let's say, a site, a bit of land. Okay, and someone's put don't know. Well, we're going to go in and do some ground investigation anyway for the geotechnical makeup for our new foundations. Could that, intrusive investigation, digging some trial pits, also identify the presence of the dormant roots below the ground in the winter?
Yeah, so if there was a suitably qualified surveyor on site, they could sort of sift through the soil and look for the rhizomes, because that's like I say, that's the majority of the problem, the rhizomes. So yeah, that would be doable. Yeah.
So if one's concerned, and I think this is a good message for anyone, because a lot of people here will think, I'm a bit concerned about this stuff, but they've ticked I don't know, or even they've ticked no, but we don't want that legal comeback. All new sites are going to require some trial pits of some description. Best to reach out to someone like yourself, Dean, get you down onto the site, one of your team down to the site, have a look whilst the trial pits are going on, and then you've got a good chance of identifying it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I mean, it's just an extra safety precaution, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, we talked about there's a lot of fear around it, and I'm sure there's a lot of almost myths around this stuff that's come about. Any sort of, give us a bit of an inside track and bust some of those myths that people have these perceptions wrongly of what Japanese knotweed's about.
Yeah, so people think it's going to split through anything, like it's a super strong plant that'll just rip your house down. But it's like we mentioned before, it's not. It will exploit weaknesses that are already there, but it won't make the weakness in the first place. So it's not strong enough to sort of penetrate through concrete. But if there's a hole in the concrete, then it can do. So I think it all depends on how well your house is built, really.
But what we shouldn't do is are you saying we shouldn't run scared of this stuff?
No, don't run scared of it, because even if you're looking at a house, you can usually negotiate the price. So, I mean, either the vendor would have the treatment done and then it wouldn't cost you anything anyway, or you could negotiate on the price. So it's nothing to be scared of.
Yeah, because I think that's the problem for a lot of people, is that they're probably looking at this and thinking, oh, well, Japanese knotweed, the press, the technical press, or even the general press, is scaremongering on this stuff. But actually, with someone in the know, it's not necessarily going to be a problem. I'm assuming if there's a major infestation, there's quite a large cost to get rid of it. Can you get rid of it completely?
You can get rid of it, yeah. I mean, on a development site, that would include excavation. So you'd actually excavate the roots out of the site. So that's basically like, and then obviously backfill it in. So that's basically like it was never there in the first place almost. That's also followed up by a warranty as well. So if anything, because it can grow for about the size of a piece of your fingernail. So, it's very small.
So in terms of a development site, we've got to physically excavate the soil that contains any traces of the roots of the knotweed, remove it, and import clean, fresh material.
Yeah. So when you excavate, when you see the stems above the ground, you would excavate a sort of, around it about 3 meters and then sort of 2 meters down. They're the general rules. However, it is different on every site. So, I mean, it could be less than that. It could be a little bit more than that.
But you presumably then you have an expert, someone like yourself, one of your team, in on the site, having a presence to monitor that excavation process.
Yeah, so we offer excavations, full excavations, so we would cover the whole process. Or at the very least, you should have a surveyor there, a Japanese knotweed surveyor there, to oversee the process by your own builders and make sure it's all done properly.
But you said it could be as small as a bit of fingernail. Is that why you excavate sort of 3 meters round? Because the likelihood of it being sporadically spread around the site is quite limited. Is that correct?
Yeah, so so it can grow about the size of your fingernail. So I mean, it's a very small piece, obviously, but the chances of it being they kind of get lower and lower as you're going out. So that's why you have to excavate around, just to make sure you've got everything. But like I say, you can leave a tiny piece and then it may regrow, but that'd be treated anyway. So
you treat the ground as well as the excavating out. There's one of a better word, you spray a bit of weed killer over it, do you?
So what would happen in that scenario is the soil there would have everything removed from it. So next, that would start to regenerate, because it regenerates quite quickly. So that would then be treated, yeah. And then anything that did pop up then would be treated and taken out.
Going back to, let's say, buying an existing building rather than land, okay, could be a house, but let's talk about development, and we're going to convert that building into some residential units, and we're going to get some individual gardens out of it. So the Japanese knotweed could be in and around the gardens. We're not going to demolish the building and excavate. Is that a case where you treat it in situ and you don't have to do a full excavation?
Yeah, we would treat it with herbicide in that scenario. So that's obviously a lot cheaper, because the real costs of removing it are the actual cost to the licensed landfill, because it has to go to a specialist landfill where it gets buried so far under the ground and all that stuff. So yeah, the costs involved in herbicide treatment are a lot less.
And that's so we can treat it, we can get rid of it. And does that come with, you talked about a guarantee earlier, is that a sort of warranty that companies like yourselves give out?
Yeah, so with the herbicide treatments, we offer, because you have to be a member of the Property Care Association, which is like a trade body that sort of deals with this kind of thing. And you offer a 10-year company guarantee, but you can also get a 10-year insurance back guarantee as well, which covers you. So if you say you had some knotweed in your garden, Ritchie, and you paid me up front I disappeared and you never saw me again, which wouldn't happen, obviously. But if it did, somebody would come and treat the knotweed for the duration of the plan.
I don't know if I have got Japanese knotweed in my garden. I have absolutely no idea about gardening. So we have all these wonderful plants in our garden, but I guess they could be knotweed. I mean, some of them were given to us by Queen Victoria in the bottom end of the garden, but who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, where I am.
No, in terms of this presence, and we've got all this, I say scaremongering we talked about. What about funding for developments, for property developers? If we've got this identification of knotweed, how do development funders address this problem?
So usually when you're looking for a mortgage or development sort of finance, they want somebody to be a member of the Property Association, like I mentioned before. So as long as you've got a plan in place, 95% of lenders are absolutely fine with this now, because it used to be the case that if you had knotweed, that was it. You couldn't get a mortgage and you were stuck with it. But they just want to know that somebody's treating it, that knows what they're doing, and they are effectively managing it. So that's, yeah, you're usually fine. Okay,
so that is, I guess, is be upfront about it. Let them know that you're looking at this. If it's a mortgage, if it's a domestic mortgage and you're trying to, or a buy-to-let mortgage, let that mortgage company know, because I guess there's some mortgage companies that just don't want to do it at all. So you've got to find one that's definitely interested. Let them know that you've got the right people, the right qualified, certified people on it. This is the treatment, and hopefully that gets accepted. And much the same for development funders, who are probably a bit more in the know, a bit more knowledgeable, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, it's like I say, as long as somebody's managing it now, who's qualified to do so, they're not really bothered, because it's being managed, and that's what their issue is. They don't want it to spread any further. Like I say, if somebody's managing it, then it kind of calms their minds.
Would it be fair? You talked about chipping the price earlier, if it was there. Would it be fair to perhaps say it could almost be an opportunity rather than a problem? Because if you've got the right people, someone like Dean, your company and yourself on board, where other people will be running a little bit scared because they've got Japanese knotweed on a property, a development site potential, you could actually say, well, hang on a minute, no, we can treat this. This is X. You can chip the price. You're going to go in when someone else walks away because they're a bit scared. There's an opportunity almost.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I read some research recently, and I think it said 8 out of 10 people would walk away from a house if they'd found Japanese knotweed. So that massively reduces the competition.
Wow. So I guess if you see it and no one else knows, you need to put a sign in the ground to say Japanese knotweed found here. Then you can go back and chip the owners later on.
There you go. That's good idea.
Good stuff. Now, before we disappear, I know you're a busy man. You've got things to do, and I appreciate your time today. Some of the audience might be interested. You have now embarked on a development journey. You're still going to retain your knotweed company. Why the transition into development as well?
So I'm also a building surveyor as well, and it's always been something I've been interested in. And then when I saw your talk at one of the events, I decided to give it a go. And yeah, I've never looked back. It's been great. Enjoying it.
And what sort of things do you want to develop?
Mainly, so small residential to commercial to residential. So yeah, so mainly small blocks, really. Nothing too big.
But run that, as you say, you're a surveyor. It satisfies that interest. It generates some significant extra wealth. Run that alongside the knotweed company.
Yeah, it's great. It's just another little thing I can run along the side, which is going to hopefully bring in some big money. So yeah.
So anyone else out there, again, there's going to be people in existing businesses, some industry related. Yes, you're in the industry, you are a surveyor, but of course, as you now know, because you're well into our program, what month are you on at the moment whilst we record this today?
I am on. So I'm just going to the Developers Club. So is that month 6?
6 or 7, depending when you started. Yeah, month 6 or 7. So you're halfway through the program. Massive amount to learn compared to what you even knew as a surveyor.
There is, yeah. I mean, I kind of thought I'd know quite a lot of it, and I was quite shocked actually. So that's good, yeah.
Yeah, I always say to industry people, you just don't know what you don't know, and there's a lot of industry people coming and go, "Wow, oh my word!" And do you foresee? I mean, you say you're halfway through the program. Question we often get asked, and I think it's a great one, just as an aside to ask today. Do you see that you can run the property development business as well as your existing Japanese knot business. So it's almost a side hustle development. Can you see you can do that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, some of the stuff you taught me on the course has actually made me sort of streamline and systemize, this business. So it's interchangeable skills. If you can run one business, I'm sure you can run anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Going back to your company, Solutions for Japanese Knotweed. Have you got some contact details that you could just put out? We'll put them in the show notes if we can. But if people want to get hold of you, what's the website? What's the best contact details?
Yeah, so the website is s4jk.com. So that's S for sugar, number 4, Juliet kilo.com or .co.uk. They both take the same one. My office number is 01663 765750. And even if I can't help you in the area I'm in, I'm happy to have a chat and discuss anything. So yeah, thank you.
Just give us that phone number again.
01663 765750.
And have you got an email address people can contact you? Is there a sort of general inquiries one?
Yeah, so the email address would be info@s4jk.co.uk.
Great stuff. And we'll make sure everyone those go in the show notes. You're based up, as you say, in the northwest. Are you northwest?
Yeah, Manchester.
Yeah, Manchester. Yeah, Manchester. I forgot where you were for a minute. What area do you cover? I know you said reach out if you'll help whoever and steer them in the right direction, but what generally area do you cover?
So we cover the northwest, most of Yorkshire and some Wales as well. So, I mean, we do cover quite a bit. But like I say, if I can't help you myself, I can pass you on to somebody that can. So
brilliant. Well, that's good. Look, trusted source, Dean's in the know and he can point you in the right direction. Dean, look, many thanks for coming on. I do appreciate it. Hopefully people will reach out for you and hopefully people have got a little bit more information about Japanese Knotweed. Dean, thank you very much. Good stuff. Hey, how was that? Was that good? Did you enjoy that? All about Japanese knotweed, busting those myths about Japanese knotweed. It's a bit of a problem, but maybe it's not such a big problem. And maybe, in fact, it's an opportunity. That's what Dean was saying. You just need to know what you don't know. Please reach out to Dean. His details will be in the show notes here below, but it's Solutions for Japanese Knotweed. Just Google that. Dean Wild, he's the owner there. He runs this business, very experienced. Great, interesting story how he went on a motorcycle course and eventually got into Japanese knotweed. He's a surveyor in the industry anyway, and he's also learning to be a developer. So he'll know the whole thing from both sides of the fence. So please do reach out to him. Hopefully you found that interesting. If you're starting out in the development journey and you like what Dean said about maybe starting a property development company, it's not easy, this stuff, but it's entirely possible. We give you the right support. We guide you and steer you. You can go and do this. Bit of free training. Grab a pen and paper, and I'll give you a link here. You can have a bit of free training if you want. propertyceo.co.uk/SFR. propertyceo.co.uk/SFR stands for six-figure roadmap, SFR, which is really going on a journey to earn six-figure sums. Hopefully you found that interesting. If you do, just like and share, please. Click on the link below, like and share us with other people. I look forward to seeing you on the next edition of Open Door. Cheers now. Bye-bye.